right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we're talking about a movie I thought we were going to just let slide by. But lots of people were talking about it, and I figured, why not? Let's do an episode. The movie is called Ready or Not, and if you've been to the movies this year, you probably saw the trailer every single time you went to the movies over and over and over again. I think I might have even seen it like twice before one movie before. I don't know. Maybe that's not possible, but it sure seems like it. But this movie's already been out for a few weeks, but I was on Twitter talking to all of these wonderful people out there in Twitter world, and JC from the Screen Fix podcast said he'd be interested in doing an episode, and I was like, do I really want to write a written review of this movie? Why don't we just do an episode? And so here we are. JC joins us for a great little conversation about Ready or Not, which, if you don't know, which it's impossible because, like I said, the trailer was like everywhere for the past year. But if you don't know, this is a movie about a woman who marries into this wealthy family, and she finds out on the wedding night that they have to play a game of hide and seek, and everybody is going to try to murder her in the game of hide and seek. It's kind of dumb, but it's a cool premise. You could see where something like this could go in pretty fun directions. It goes in mixed directions, but we'll get into it in the conversation. Before we get into the conversation, I want to remind you, as always, to make sure you're subscribed to Piecing It Together on your podcast app of choice. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and, of course, follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. We got a lot of Piecing It Together for you this week as we lead up to our first live episode on Sunday, September 15th during the Sin City Horror Fest. So check out this episode. Check out all the other episodes. Leave us a review. We want to hear what you're thinking. Let's get into the conversation. All right, so joining us today for the first time, we've got JC from Screen Fix. How's it going, man?
That's me.
That is you. I'm glad to have you here, man.
Yeah, it's a morning. I usually record my own podcast at nighttime.
Yes,
so
me too.
It's usually been a long day. I'm a little bit loopy. This time, just had some breakfast, just had some coffee. I'm hopped up. I'm hopped up and ready.
I just got back from the gym, and I've got a coffee right here in my hands. So actually, I held it outside of the camera angle there. So
I must say you're looking swole.
Oh, thank you.
The gym is working out.
Ah, thank you very much.
I see some deltoids popping. They're good
all over the place. They're popping in places
look.
You don't want to know. Let's talk about this movie. Well, before we do get into this movie, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself? I've had your cohort, the lady one, on the show before, and I've been on your show, but you've never been here before. Why don't you tell our listeners a little about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm JC, host of Screen Fix, the Screen Fix podcast, where we fix a recent film. About me, oh God, nobody asked me. I feel like I'm on a Tinder date. Let me see. I actually worked in Hollywood for a few years when I was a younger man, before I came to my senses. I worked on some movies like Imaginary Heroes, which was a Dan Harris movie. I worked on a movie called In Her Shoes with Cameron Diaz, but that was actually after I moved back to Florida. But but I've been I've made short films of my own. But I've been podcasting for a long time. Been podcasting for over a decade. So. Oh wow. So here I am. Let's do this. I'm ready to break down some movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also have a film blog called filmdocinema.com. So if anybody wants to check that out.
Sweet. Right on. Well, yeah. I mean, this movie, Ready or Not, I was gonna let it just kind of slide by. It's an all right movie. I didn't love it. We were kind of talking a little bit in the before we got started, but people just keep talking about it, and so I thought maybe we should get around to an episode. And then you mentioned that you'd be down for it. Yeah. Were you looking forward to this when it came out?
No, actually.
Yeah.
I saw the preview and I thought, nah, that doesn't. I didn't see anything that was capturing my attention too much. However, people that I saw other movies with, where we were all in the theater watching the trailer, were so interested in it.
Yeah.
It seemed like everybody else was more interested in it than I was. So I went to see it, of course, because because horror's big right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even the average film goer is suddenly all about these horror movies now, and they all want to go see it. It's like a trend. Like, you got to go see the new horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that
comedies
comes
are
out.
not big, and it seems like you have
Yeah.
to mix comedy into something. It's either got to be a superhero movie that's funny or a horror that's funny or whatever. And
Yeah, and it seems like the only
Yeah.
comedies we're getting that are breaking out are weird niche comedies, like the middle school raunchy movie that's out right now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how young we need to go with our raunch, but I guess that's the lengths that comedy is going to try to get people to go see comedies now. I don't know what's next. Like a raunchy toddler comedy
we'll get
about
there.
breastfeeding. I've no idea.
We'll get
but
there.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Well, we're probably going to end up doing an episode on that one too. But for today, why don't we get into some puzzle pieces on Ready or Not? What do you got for your first one?
Okay. So my first puzzle piece is, I think, kind of obvious, but it kind of parallels this like modern horror, kind of this horror renaissance that we have going on right now. I just went ahead and said Get Out.
Mhm.
Because Get Out is another movie where a family member lures in an outsider who gets embroiled in a family ritual. In Get Out, it's kind of a ritualized thing. It's more of a mad scientist. It has a mad scientist bent on it.
Sure.
Whereas this one has a supernatural bent on it. But it is a family, like a ritualistic killing where they lure in an outsider, and also started by an ancestor, and also has shades of that kind of like wealthy white privilege theme,
Yeah.
which runs through both of them. So my first instinct, or my first thought, my first puzzle piece was like, they're not the same, but they hit on some of the same themes, and
Absolutely.
they're similar. So my first puzzle piece was Get Out.
Yeah, I completely agree. I had Get Out on my list as well, actually, and and I think another thing that to add to that point is Get Out. I think Get Out does it a lot better, but
Yes.
with the social satire angle of it, and like
Mhm.
kind of making fun of the 1% and the wealthy and all that stuff. And there's little bits and pieces of that here in Ready or Not, but it never quite drives it home. It's just maybe like a little off the cuff joke once in a while, but it never
Yeah,
quite gets into
yeah,
how weird the rich can be.
yeah, and this one kind of, whereas the wealthy white people in Get Out are a little more menacing in in the things that they say and whatnot, and how they act. This one is, you can tell that they're purposely trying to. Their last name is essentially dumbass. And it is, their last name is Dumas or whatever, Dumas or whatever, dumbass.
Right, yeah.
And it's actually like Lo Dumas or whatever, but La Dumas or Da Dumas or something like that. But yeah, so they're basically they're saying that they're dumbasses, and it's funny because I was watching an interview, and Adam Brody actually says, "Yeah, our last name is Dumbass," and
Nice.
and it reminds me of that old. Do you remember that old commercial where that guy, he's doing a job interview, and the guy that he's interviewing with, last name is Dumas, and
Yeah,
he keeps
yeah.
saying, "So am I your guy, Mr. Dumbass?" And he goes, "The name's Dumas." So
That's a good
but
commercial.
yeah, so this movie's just saying that these are dumbass white people, and it's a little more on the nose with it. I mean, it's on the nose with a lot of stuff. Like, even with the her name is Grace. She gets a nail through her hand, so now there's Jesus again. It's like,
Yeah.
got to sprinkle in the Jesus.
You know, I was
imagery.
picturing these writers, not to make too much shit of them or anything, but I was picturing while this movie was like in production, you know, people asking them like, you know, oh, so what's your new project? And they just couldn't stop laughing while explaining the movie. You know, like they just
Yeah.
thought it was the best thing
Yeah,
ever.
they think they're super clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I was watching some stuff too, and even the actors and actresses are just like, it's the best thing. I loved it. I loved how strong the heroine was, and I'm like, I don't think she's that strong of a heroine in this movie. Like, she's mostly surviving because everyone else around her is a dumbass.
They're so stupid. They're very stupid. Although I will say I very much like Samara Weaving, but we'll get into her more
fantastic.
as we're continuing through this conversation.
Yeah,
But
Samara Jesus.
yes, absolutely. I'm going to jump into my first puzzle piece then, and that is going to be Game Night from just a couple of years ago, which... Again, mixed, you know, comedy is such like a dying genre now, but they found a way to mix it in with, you know, like the whole action, little bits of horror mixed in there and violence and all. And that movie also had, you know, I would say Samara Weaving is, you know, pretty great in the lead here. Rachel McAdams was so good in Game Night. Other than that, I don't really remember that movie super well. I mean, it was for the moment. It was a pretty fun movie. There's just so few good comedies nowadays, like we were just starting to talk about earlier. But I think that using a you know, childhood game kind of thing and combining it with comedy and horror, I think it's a kind of natural progression.
And now that Blumhouse is making movies out of games.
Yes, they are.
Ouija, Truth or Dare, like they're gonna come out with Tiddlywinks or Yahtzee, the horror movie. I have no idea.
I hope Adam Brody's in all of these.
Next summer, Adam Brody in Yahtzee. Don't roll the dice. Stupid. So I get it. All this game stuff is big right now because they're just throwing out horror's trendy.
Yeah, I suppose I could have used Tag with Ed Helms, but I think
Tag
that's a better
as
option.
Well. There's another one.
Oh God, these movies.
And, what's his name? Jeremy Renner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jeez.
Jeremy Renner looks like he's got a lot of skin on his face. He's got like enough skin on his face for a much larger skull.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he's thin and buff. He's very strange face when you really look at it. It's very strange.
I heard the Jeremy Renner app. It puts like that large of a face on your face, and then it's AR technology. I didn't think I'd ever get to talk about the Jeremy Renner app on this show, but I'm glad it just happened very briefly there. What do you got for your next puzzle piece?
And his commerce store, apparently. Okay, my next piece of pieces. Let me see. Okay, I have another one. This is kind of silly. So this is, I think all of these movies are kind of riffs. These kind of rich people hunting people. Movies are all kind of riffs on that classic short story, Most Dangerous Game, right? And so I picked another rich people hunting movie called Surviving the Game. It stars Ice-T.
Nice.
It stars Ice-T is this homeless guy, and he takes this job as a hunting guide for some rich people up in the woods. And the rich people are in this movie are it's this absurd cast. Rutger Hauer, Gary Busey, F. Murray Abraham, and some more people. But anyway, lo and behold, in the morning, Ice-T, we're gonna hunt you. Go on, boy. And and these rich people are now hunting Ice-T, and that movie's so good. It has some tagline, something like one of those awful taglines. Something like, "He knows he's gonna die one day, but today he's not in the mood."
Nice.
Jumping off cliffs, a la Rambo. Yeah. So,
That
it
rules.
also has Charles S. Dutton. So
Oh yeah.
you can tell exactly what years this movie came out in. It's like 90s, big time.
I think we need a remake of Surviving the Game, but with Ice-T as the rich guy now and hunting some young guy. That would fucking rule.
A bunch of super rich rappers that are hunting some homeless white guy.
Oh, that would freaking rule.
Hunting I don't know, hunting Bradley Cooper or something.
Yeah.
Is Bradley Cooper the ultimate white guy right now? I have no idea.
He's pretty white, I would say, as far as white guys go. But yeah, but to your puzzle piece, no, great pick for sure. Yeah, I know that there's like so many of these kind of like the rich people hunting a person kind of movies, and I didn't want to like necessarily, for me personally, bring one up because I haven't seen any of them in like a million years, and I didn't really have much to say about them specifically. So I'm glad you brought one up, and that's a really good one, and plus we get to talk about Ice-T. So
I wanted to pick one of the sillier ones, and that one for sure. I mean, there's other ones where there's like prisoners are dropped in a, there's so many takes on this, but but not all of them have Ice-T.
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna go with another puzzle piece here. And this rich family is, they're just like, insanely wealthy and filled with all these like weirdos, and some of them are extra weird, like the grandma, and I thought of the Addams Family. Which I think
kind of a creepy house.
I think they didn't. I think they wanted it to come off even more like the Addams Family. I think they wanted all of these characters to be super memorable, and I don't think that they really quite get there. But I think they're trying to go for like everybody just being like weird in their own kind of weird, kooky way, and like, oh, look at all these weird, crazy rich people. But I definitely think that like the Addams Family family dynamic is what they're going for with this family, which is very strange, but also not fully realized, I guess, in any meaningful way, unfortunately. But definitely there's some weirdos in there.
Yeah. It's they tried to shoehorn each one with their own little kind of quirk, like the wife of Adam Brody likes killing more than Adam Brody, or the grandma had to kill her husband once, or they tried to give them quirks, but I don't know if they succeeded fully on that.
Yeah.
I would have liked if they were more Addams Family weirdos.
Exactly.
Right? I would have liked for them to just go full creepy and kooky.
Yeah, I think that would have led to more fun with the whole horror comedy aspect, like really being able to go over the top instead of it just being, people chasing each other around with guns, which
it's very much just like a killing time movie. I think we were talking about this. Like, great idea, great ending, but no idea how to get to the ending in an interesting way. They're just kind of dicking around.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people just dicking around in this haunted house, and most of the people that get killed in this movie are just the help.
Which is a very interesting thing. Yeah, I had forgotten about that until you just mentioned it just there. Yeah, you're right. Like, the majority of the people that die in this movie are just the poor maids. Like,
the only family member that dies in this movie during the actual hunting is the mom. There's one. Out of these like 6 family members, only one. I'm like, wow, this is okay. Everybody's just gonna live, huh? I mean, which makes the ending, I guess, kind of cool, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would have been just as happy if she had systematically hunted them all, and the only one left was her husband, and he exploded. Like, I would have been just as happy. Like,
exactly. At least you still get someone exploding.
Yes, I would have maybe been just as happy. because they do just kind of bumble around the house.
It's true. Yeah, none of them are. And I guess, that does kind of speak to the kind of uselessness of the 1% people, that they can't even handle this task that they've been given by the devil or
Okay.
whatever. But
All right, in case Dave has any 1% listeners,
yeah.
there are some 1%ers out there that work very hard and have
Mhm.
earned every cent.
If there are any of you out there, our Patreon is patreon.com/piecingpod. Why don't you plug yours while you're at it? That way we get a little bit.
I also
spread
have
it
a
around.
Patreon for you 1%ers out there. Screen Fix Podcast Patreon. Look it up, please. 1%ers.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
You guys are well-dressed, wonderful,
We love
great-smelling
you
people.
people.
Yes.
All right. What do you got for your next puzzle piece?
Okay. So my next one, it also made me think about movies where horror films where women turn the tables on the attackers, like a woman you wouldn't expect turns the tables on attackers.
Mm.
So, and I immediately went to my favorite of those, which is You're Next.
Nice.
You're Next, directed by Adam Wingard, is one of the best unexpected woman turns the tables on people that are invading a house movie. They invade the house and they're inside the house. Essentially, in You're Next. Have you seen You're Next?
I actually haven't. I heard great things about it though.
So good. So essentially, the plot of that is there's these family members that have conspired with other family members to kill other family members at their country estate because one of them wants some inheritance money, right? What they didn't count on was that one of them brings along their girlfriend, and they have no idea that this girlfriend grew up in like a survivalist commune, and she just like deadly home alones the house and just murders them all. And the thing that it does better than this is it definitely turns her into the heroine of the movie, like tougher than everyone else, smarter than everyone else, and just the kills in that movie. One thing that movie does better than this movie is the kills are outstanding. Like I said, she just like deadly Home Alone's things. There's also a fantastic scene involving a blender and someone's head.
Nice, I can imagine
that you have to see. It's so this movie immediately reminded me of You're Next, which is like I said, it's just a woman put in some extreme circumstances that unexpectedly is up to the task.
Sure, yeah. Well, yeah, no, it sounds great. I've heard really good things about it, and about what's her name again? The woman that's in the lead of You're Next.
Ooh, I don't know, but I can look it up real quick while you.
Well,
finish your thought.
I was gonna say I've heard good things about that actress, and then Samara Weaving. I really do think that she does a great job in this. I also just as a total aside, I think the constant comparisons to Margot Robbie are kind of ridiculous. I don't think she really looks that much like her. I don't know.
I had a couple people tell me that they wanted to go see the Margot Robbie horror movie.
Yeah, people seem to really think that they look exactly the same.
The actress in that, by the way, is Czerny Vincent.
Czerny Vincent, okay.
An actress named Czerny Vincent.
Yeah, I heard that she was great in it, but
she's outstanding in it.
Yeah. But,
I also thought Samara Weaving does an outstanding job with what she's given in that movie.
Exactly. It's like what she's given is, there's not much there, unfortunately, but she really makes the most of it and seems to be having a blast doing it. I would say the same for Adam Brody, who is the other kind of shining spot of this movie. But everybody else kind of doesn't really know what kind of movie they're making. It seems like these two know that they're making something just kind of silly and ridiculous.
And what's cool is like these horror movies really give actresses, because a lot of these movies the main protagonist is a woman, or they have a very important role in it. This I thought this movie was great because Samara Weaving gets to really be the lead and she gets to shine instead of playing like a girlfriend or a like just like a she doesn't have to play like a romantic interest. She gets to kick some ass, and I think that's great for Samara Weaving, and also that also reminded me of the actress that broke out in Happy Death Day. Just where you I forget her name. Her name is Jessica Roth or Rothy.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, she was great too because she got to really sink her teeth into this juicy, fun horror role. So I think these movies are great for actors that don't need to be pigeonholed.
Yeah,
into like some feminine role.
Hopefully, they can use it as a launching pad and do some bigger work along the way.
Yeah.
And also another thing, I realized I couldn't figure out where I knew Samara Weaving from, and it was Ash vs. Evil Dead. She was in that, so I totally recognize her from that.
Great series.
I have one more puzzle piece here because Get Out was one of my other ones. So I got one more here, and that is the James Gunn produced The Belko Experiment. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Which I also didn't really like that much. I thought it was just all right, but I feel like it's the same kind of thing where you get a good idea for a movie and then just kind of don't do anything with it as far as execution is considered. I mean, you think of the idea of the Belko experiment, that there's a social experiment and all these corporate employees are trapped in a building and they have to kill each other, to survive. And you think, oh, there's going to be all kinds of inventive kills because they're in this different environment. Yes. And then instead they run around with guns and shoot each other. It kind of annoyed the shit out of me.
I mean, you're right. Like an office has all kinds of cool things: paper cutters, copy machines. Like get interesting with it.
Yes, exactly.
And
have fun.
I don't understand these movies that don't, because like, why am I watching this then?
Yeah. Exactly.
I
go watch John Wick like for the 4th time this year.
I know. Like I want to see inventive kills. I want to see a kill that I've imagined in my mind, but could never do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there was like a home invader in my house, could I get a gun and shoot them? Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty normal person situation to be in.
Yeah.
But like in an office having to fight somebody with a paper shredder. Yeah, no. Like that's what I want to see.
Exactly.
In fact, Dave, I think we need to get on this.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna make a movie filled with just nonstop people getting killed in various unique, never thought of ways.
Inventive kills. Yeah.
Yes.
Nonstop inventive kills. People trapped in a Staples.
Ooh, not too bad. Yeah. Just drowning them in whiteout.
Yes. All kinds of deadly traps involving paper clips and
I think we could come up with a pretty damn good
staplers.
Movie.
Yeah. Imagine having to survive like the stapler gauntlet. Yeah, it'd be pretty scary.
Oh god. So what do you got? You got another puzzle piece there?
Sure. I've got some small ones here after those ones. Those are kind of like my main ones that I thought were influences or movies that it made me think of. I just have the idea that this movie, it's not really a puzzle piece, but when this movie started, there's a couple like small homages in here. For a second, I thought this was gonna be like Die Hard in the dumbwaiters. Like
nice.
Right,
nice,
like she was gonna have to like go through dumbwaiters and through all the secret like passages and try and live, So I was like, okay, Die Hard and dumbwaiters, let's do this. Like I was kind of ready for it, like her sneaking around. But instead, she just kind of clumsily runs down hallways where she could easily be spotted and all kinds of stuff like that. But I was like, okay, so as soon as she went in there, I thought about Die Hard. Another small homage. I'll just throw this out. I thought the ending when she goes out and smokes the cigarette was making me think a little bit of the ending of Heathers when she's outside and when Winona Ryder's outside and she looks all beat up because she's just saw Christian Slater explode and she's just smoking that cigarette and looking all beat up.
Yeah.
No,
like, that's good.
There's like some Heathers there, some Heathers, some Die Hard stuff like that.
I like it.
But other than that, I think I'm pretty good with my my pieces. I had those kind of 3 solid ones, and then everything else is just kind of a comment or an aside about it.
Perfect. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and do the finished puzzle and list out all the movies we just discussed. And I got a few other comments we'll mention when we finish this up. But so our finished puzzle includes Get Out, Game Night, Surviving the Game, The Addams Family, You're Next, The Belko Experiment, Die Hard, and Heathers. So fairly short, very random list, but I think it's pretty damn appropriate. I'll just say one thing just to kick this off, our final thoughts. Kind of almost a bonus piece, but one that really could not have been an inspiration because it just came out this summer. I thought of Midsummer and the idea of this girl going through this crazy situation and realizing that her relationship is not something that she should have been in, that the guy is kind of a piece of shit. So I just thought of that while I was coming up with my pieces. What do you got for other thoughts on this movie?
Maybe this is the summer of bad boyfriends.
Bad boyfriends, the summer. That is the theme.
This is the summer of bad boyfriends. Yeah. My final thought actually has to do with so I thought this movie, of course, we've already talked about this in depth, that it's just kind of this. I don't think this movie was executed as well to get to the ending as we thought that it could have been. It was pretty on the nose with what it was trying to say. But it's funny because I was watching interviews for this movie, and I guess my final thought is, how cringeworthy is it to watch interviews for movies? Like, why does every interviewer have to ask some stupid ass question like, how has filming affected your own family game night? And the actors just look at each other and like fake smile, and they're like, I don't fucking know, dude. Like,
yeah, right.
Or somebody else I saw asked, if you were fighting in a house, which one of the weapons would you choose? And they're all just like, like looking at each other, like, why do we have to do this? And I'm like, I don't blame actors and actresses at all for getting frustrated with interviews,
or the ones who just make shit up and then like have to just deal with it later. But it's like, at least they got to have a little bit of fun during the process of doing those stupid interviews.
Oh my god, just those kind of cringeworthy questions. Like, oh my god, that's really. Oh, I also have one small piece of trivia. When Andie MacDowell says "holy dick," she improv that herself.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay, Andie MacDowell improved "holy dick." All right.
Pretty good.
I kind of want to hang out with Andie MacDowell now.
The only other thing I wanted to mention is, back to the trailer for this movie, which I remember sitting in theaters like literally like 50 times over the last year, because they showed this trailer before every movie, and every time the audience kind of ate it up, I thought, and I always thought it looked kind of dumb. Yes. This movie is literally the trailer spread out to 90 minutes. I don't think there's anything, not a single surprise. Like it's just that trailer. And if for people who actually were laughing at the trailer, they probably enjoyed this movie. And if you haven't seen it yet and you're listening to this, which of course we get into spoilers on the show, so you shouldn't, but you should go see the movie first. But if you haven't seen it yet, you probably will like the movie if you liked the trailer. But neither of us really did.
Well, here it is. It's like, if you're just getting into this if you're just getting into this mainstream horror thing that seems to be happening right now,
Mhm.
you're going to like it because it's not too gory.
Mhm.
It's a little bit like tongue in cheek, and it's a very safe horror movie to watch. And you're probably going to like it and be like, I watched a horror movie. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. But if you're really into the horror genre, you're going to watch something much darker, much gorier, much more challenging than this movie. This is a mainstream horror movie for the masses, is what it is.
Yeah. And if you want horror comedy, just go watch Evil Dead again, because you can't get better anyway. So.
The ultimate horror comedy. Well, really, Evil Dead 2
Right, Evil Dead
is
2.
where it really gets horror comedy.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think that about does it. JC, you got another thing you watched recently that you would like to recommend?
Yeah, sure. If you're a fan of extremely deadpan humor full of self-awareness, like extreme self-awareness, like characters saying, yeah, it's in the script. Watch Jim Jarmusch's The Dead Don't Die. Like if you're into zombies still and you want more zombies and Bill Murray, because remember there was zombie Bill Murray in Zombieland. If instead you want to see Adam Driver and Bill Murray kind of putter around town, having interesting conversations while whacking a few zombies, check out The Dead Don't Die by Jim Jarmusch.
I agree. Good movie. We covered it on the show a few months ago, so watch it and then go back and listen to the episode.
Yep.
It's definitely one to check out.
Just came out for sale.
Yes, absolutely. So awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for being here, JC. Why don't you tell people where they can find your podcast and everything?
Yes. So my podcast is Screen Fix Podcast, where we fix a recent film. Basically, we go in and each of the hosts and guests talk about something that they would have fixed to make the movie a little bit better. Most recently, we did Hobbs and Shaw, and coming up, we have a fix of all the Disney remakes this year.
Ooh,
we're just gonna do them all in one super episode. So
that sounds fun.
And of course, we got a lot of other stuff coming up: Rambo, It Too, and all those goodies. But you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, on our website, screenfixpod.com. And we also have a Patreon as well. But, donate to his first and then donate to mine. So, I'm going to be a good guest here.
Thanks, man.
But check us out on Apple Podcasts, please.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for being here. And I would love to come be on your show again sometime. It was a lot of fun doing it.
Thank you, Dave. You know you will be.
Hello, and welcome to Scream Scene,
the horror movie podcast where we watch every horror movie
ever made
in chronological order,
then rank them from best to worst.
Your dedicated hosts, Sarah
and Ben,
bring you a new episode each week,
covering the history of film through a horror lens.
From silent to sound and black and white to color, and the social and cultural context surrounding them.
Scream Scene is your well-researched, in-depth, and respectful dive into the horror movies of old.
Join us, creatures of the night, by subscribing to Scream Scene on iTunes.
And visit our website, screamscenepodcast.tumblr.com.
You'll be dying to subscribe.
That's pretty bad.
It'll be a hell of a good time.
Better?
It'll lift your spirits.
Okay.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Ready or Not. Like I said, it's fun, but just never really quite lives up to its potential. I know a lot of people did really like it, though, so... if you saw that trailer and thought this movie looks like it's for me, you might actually like it. So go check it out if you haven't, which you should have, because obviously we get into spoilers on the show. But now it's after the conversation, so it's too late for you. You've already been spoiled. I'm sorry, guys. But that's just how this podcast works. And if you like this podcast, you can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. We would love it if you'd give us 5 stars and leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. We are continually trying to make this the best show it could possibly be. We love making this show. I've got so many episodes lined up with all kinds of great new guests and returning guests that have been on the show before. And I just love doing it. And we have our first live show coming up on Sunday, September 15th. at the Brendan Palms Theater at the Palms Casino here in Las Vegas during the Sin City Horror Fest. We are going to be covering a locally made feature film called The Head, and it's going to be a really fun conversation. We got Josh Bell joining us, who's been on the show a bunch of times. We have Drew Marvick, who is a filmmaker and also an organizer of the Sin City Horror Fest. And we got the film's director is going to be there as well, so it's going to be great. So you can find more information about that in the show notes and on our Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, which, speaking of which, follow us on all the social medias at Piecing Pod. Join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. And yeah, let's close this thing out with a piece of music like we always do. All right, so this is a good one for a silly, goofy horror movie. This is a track that I did. I have a lot of music available in music libraries, which are libraries of music that film producers can license music out of. This is a track that's available out there, and it's been licensed before for things. It's called Hell Night, and it's kind of just a goofy, silly, Halloween-y type of track. And I think it fits quite well for something like Ready or Not, even though this isn't a fully produced, complete song. It's just a silly, cute little track. But enjoy it anyway. And I think it's the perfect episode to go out with a song like Hell Night. So enjoy it, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together coming up real soon.
And all points west.